Shemini means eighth. It is the eighth day. It refers to a supernatural moment. It's when the laws of nature are suspended or altered. And so Moshe is gathering people around because God is about to move in.
Sometimes our ardent desire to be in his presence and hold fast to that, and you're in that place and you don't want to let it go. Yeah, but I'm called to do something. And if I stay here, I can't do that.
Patience is an interesting thing because
it's one of the few things that you're warned not to ask for, but we all gonna need.
I think it's about 3 years ago that me and Elaine started, my wife started doing Torah studies as an in-home group as part of a local church. And the people would show up and they wanted all the answers and they wanted all of them now. They had questions. And so, matter of fact, early on, I would spend probably quite a bit, like I would get calls at 10 o'clock at night. I got a question. And so some of the questions I would answer and some of them I wouldn't. And I would have to, and there's a few of them that drove nuts. I said, this isn't microwaves. This is oven. This is going to take a while. Right. If you're going to go down this road to begin diligently studying scripture, you don't get all your answers now. It's not theme-based. It's not a little tickle on Saturday. It's going to be a while. Because, we sat in one area and we sat there. We just sat there dealing with the one spot of scripture. Right. Next week, we move on to the next section. Next week after. So it's not all over the place. But after a year or two or three, when you've circled around and kind of made that pass back to those same scriptures, now when you're there, you pick up a little bit more. And the next time you're around, even more. And it takes a while. And I've noticed people really don't like that. They don't like to slow down like that and let things take a while. They want it all and they want it now.
It's funny. My mother, I was talking to her about, Jewish thought in our conversations and how Torah has, the study and examination of Torah has blessed me and how it's enriched every other area of study in scripture that I have.
Yeah.
And she was like, absolutely, because Torah teaches us how to think.
Yeah.
It literally teaches us how to process and examine scripture, the constant reading of it and going back again. Every time you go back again, that expanding revelation, it creates a new neural pathway.
Yeah.
That in and of itself, just from you encountering some new understanding and revelation in that reading, you're getting a profound experiential understanding of how the mind of God is expressed in the text.
Which means it's teaching us how to listen.
Exactly.
Which is, primarily your thought is listening because we don't know where thought comes from. But somehow a thought enters here, and then the rest of it is you listening to what that thought is, right. So Torah teaches us how to listen. And so then when we're reading in the New Testament or in Psalms or in Proverbs, now it's like, wow, that reads a whole lot different to me now than what it has before, because there's more context. The people who are writing this down, the people who are speaking this, you've read what their background is. And so you know how they kind of arrived to that position. But yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I'm very fortunate to have experienced Torah through this lens and get a Jewish understanding of it, because without the context that you've provided and you're teaching me to find, I would do like a lot of Christians. It would be that Christianese. I would be guilty of all of that too. So I needed the context. Yeah. I needed to understand the things that are the understanding in between the lines.
Yeah.
The cultural context, the history, the knowledge of why did he say it like this and give this specific thing. And what was, all the details that you can't get if you're just reading the English text, because the English text isn't even the language it's written in. Yeah. And so much is lost there.
Yeah.
And then you lack, it lacks the cultural understanding.
Even right here, I'm not doing it today because I didn't get to study and find out. That word right there is ish. So right after it says, and Aaron's sons, Nadab and Abihu, it says man in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
So I've got to go back and look that up. Like, what is this word? It's not in the English sentence. Doesn't even make sense in the Hebrew sentence. Right. But I didn't find it or run across it as reading. I've read the English most of this week, And I think it was today I'm reading it in the Hebrew. I'm like, wait, what happened? What did I miss? There's something's not right here.
They snuck another one in.
They snuck another. And usually I like going in and finding the stuff that's seems a bit out of place because it always means something. So this time next year, when we're back on this Torah portion, I'll deal with these. But real quick, go to just some of the kashrut or the kosher scriptures because right after all this, we're back to kosher.
Right.
We've got all these teachings, how to live and die.
Okay. So here's where he starts telling in 11 is where the Lord spoke to Moses and to Aaron to say to them, speak to the children of Israel, saying, these are the creatures that you may eat among all the animals of the earth. And he goes through an exhaustive.
Yeah. So, and I don't really, when we do Torah study, I don't really get into, other than we know that it's there. And there's a reason for that. But the type of law that kashrut is a law that it's because I said so. The other laws come with, you have to get the commandment and you have to get the teaching behind it. You're to have both of those. The kosher laws is like, no teaching comes with this. But traditionally, there's some ideas that come with it. So in Christianity, I hear things like, don't watch that movie. There's a spirit of such and such attached to it. Or, yes. And I'm not mocking it, or don't mess with Ouija boards because there's demonic spirits attached to it. This is kind of our version of that.
Okay.
So when it comes to certain food groups, there's things attached to it. So even like say with red meat, we're warned about eating too much red meat. With too much red meat comes too much of a sexual appetite for a guy and a spirit of murder. So we're to do that carefully. But one thing is in Judaism, you're not allowed to mindlessly eat. So that's kind of what keeps you from that. And, we have bad habits in the West is watching a movie and eating food. And my habits have been better at other times than maybe they are right at this moment. But it's something that I always have in my mind when things start getting out of control again. So just mindfully eating for us, would be the same way, I guess, as a pastor telling them, don't just watch anything on TV. Don't just listen to any kind of music. Right. Don't just hang out with any type of person. Well, for us, it's don't just eat any type of food. Right. It's kind of that same thing. So, and I don't know if I'd shared that with you before. No, but what's interesting, because pig's on them, and the pig, because it has a cloven hoof, it gives a reason why. You go to the New Testament, and when the demons are being cast out, where do they ask to go?
Into the pig.
Into the pigs. Right. So next time you're eating the pig, right? You might be biting a demon in the toe. Right. Yeah.
The other thing that of course, but I'm going to tell you, my feelings was hurt because the list of things that could be eaten from the sea did not include shellfish. Yeah. And I was like, oh Lord.
So the weird thing is when you've done it long enough, though, because here's another thing. So the average Christian will say we've been delivered of the food laws. Right. The thing about that is if that's true, answer me this: do you eat cockroaches?
No,
why
I do
not? Why?
Because they're disgusting.
Okay, to us, that's disgusting. Shellfish are bugs of the ocean. I used to eat shellfish way back when, but after so many years of eating a certain way, it's tough to get. There are stuff that I've walked in restaurants they tried to put on my table and I've thrown up in my mouth. I'm like, get that. Oh, right. That's nasty. So just because Yeshua made, and I don't actually believe that, we'll have that conversation another day, but let's just say he did make all those things permissible. To us, it's not food. You don't start eating cockroaches because he made everything permissible. And what's funny is I heard so many Christian
preachers. And he actually listed some insects that
you can eat. Yeah.
And I was like, I still won't eat them.
Yeah. Well, that's like, I don't know what they're.
Cricket, I'm not eating the grasshopper. I'm not eating the locust.
I've heard good things about grasshoppers. I haven't tried crickets and grasshoppers yet, but I know, they put them in the suckers and all that. Yeah, I might try those one day just to see. But that's the thing about it. It's not food. Not everything. Just because you can't eat something doesn't mean that it should. But I do think that, and I won't tell Christians that they have to eat kosher. I don't really think that's appropriate. If you feel like the Lord's given you a liberty, don't take that with someone. But I think you do have to ask yourself, why were the demons comfortable going into the swine? Right. There's a lot of different animals they could have went. They know where they're supposed to be. Right. And their option was the pigs or the dry places. And they said, well, we'll take the pigs. And so but even if you don't believe that.
I just like to believe because they know bacon is amazing.
Because they wanted bacon.
but okay.
See, that got out. That started as a joke a few years ago, and then after that, people responded like, "Yeah, we got bacon ice cream. We got," but it's like it was a spoof on TV,
Right.
and places just went crazy with bacon.
Right.
There's probably a lot of people in the hospital right now because of that. What people
high
did with
blood
bacon.
pressure and just everything else that eating pork does to your body.
But I'll tell you this:
just so you know, my family does not eat pork.
I know. I knew you didn't. Yeah.
Like my parents raised
There's
me
a
that
lot
way.
of black people that don't eat pork, though, right?
Yeah, well,
Like
some because
a lot.
Yeah, for one, because we have high blood pressure
Pork
issues.
increases the blood pressure.
Exactly. So,
I didn't know that.
and that's a study that came out in the 70s.
Mhm.
My mom brought the report back to my dad. My dad read it and immediately said, "No more pork in this house." Up to that point, they had ham, honey baked with little slices of pineapple on it. My mom was fancy. They have the little grid on the top with the cloves and all that.
Yeah.
It went up.
Wow.
But after my dad read that
more.
report, it was like, no more.
Wow.
My mom made the mistake of making one ham after that. And my dad picked it up off the table with his head shaking his head, opened up the front door and threw it out into the street. They had a big fight after that, but my mom never again cooked pork in our house.
The funny thing is, and I don't know why. So the last time I had pork, it was a few years ago, but it was well after I'd stopped eating pork. And what happened was I ordered some food and it was seasoned with bacon. And I was hungry. Like, I mean, I'd went all day without eating, hadn't eaten much the day, and the day before that,
you were weak.
I was hungry and I ate it and it made me sicker than a dog. There was another time that I accidentally ingested it and I got sick and I asked because of my previous, and they said, "Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, it wasn't enough where I couldn't detect it. My flavor buds aren't that way anymore." But both times the second time I accidentally ingested it made me sicker than a dog. So I wouldn't even dare to try shellfish at this point in life. Once your body is set up a certain way, and that's what I mean. It's not just, you really can't look at it like for the Jew that one day Yeshua said you can eat whatever you want and just people went bonkers. If they did, they weren't practicing to begin with.
Right.
Your system doesn't work that way. You have a whole different gut bacteria that has to set up when you make major diet changes. And that's why a lot of these diet changes, people end up hurt because of it. And there's an amount of time, it might be 6 months, I don't remember, but when you change your diets, you have to do it kind of gradually so that the bacteria in your gut that digest those foods can start migrating over a period of time. So to me, it doesn't make sense. I have other reasons why I believe that I know that that's not what he's saying. But having said that, at no time do I think that Gentiles are under the food laws. So it doesn't matter anyways. Other than, I know a guy that his doctor told him to eat kosher for health reasons. And it had a real good impact on him. And I think it was blood pressure.
That wouldn't surprise me.
So even meat, he'd make sure that it was kosher certified before he'd get it.
Whenever I've eaten dinner or a significant meal on a flight, I always order kosher.
Yeah. Because you don't know where that food's been.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's all covered up. It's nice and neat and protected. Everybody else getting these open things. And I'm looking like, oh, you don't know.
You ever eat gefilte fish?
Yes.
You have? Do you like it?
It's all right.
It's all right.
It didn't bother me.
So you've eaten it once then?
Yeah.
So you haven't gotten the taste for it yet?
No.
After the second time, it's kind of,
Oh, I'll be addicted after the second time.
I only get it once a year. I get matzo ball soup and gefilte fish during Pesach.
Yeah.
But I tear it up when I get it though. But at any rate, overeating, there are, because I think even for Christian believers, you really do have to look at your food consumption. And the reason why, because there's food addictions both ways on that. You have eating disorders where it's too much or not enough. And so even the spirit of the law on that, there's a respect that we should have for the food, of what it took to get it onto your plate, that you don't eat mindlessly and that you eat in moderation. And then there's other times that we feast. When we have our holy days, Hanukkah is, oh my gosh, I am still carrying Hanukkah weight from 2022 because Elaine gets better at it each year.
Right.
Yeah. And so it's all fried foods, and she's getting really good at, what was the thing you just made for Passover, the potato one, not latkes, the other one, kugel? Oh my gosh. Pull my shirt down. Is my kugel belly hanging out? my kugels hanging out.
Right.
It's funny.